And today, California secession now? As President Donald J. Trump aims to grab Greenland, make Canada the 51st state of the U.S., regain control of the Panama Canal, and allow Puerto Rico its independence, with Bad Bunny's support, quite a few Californians are dreaming of grabbing the state out of the Union. So much grabbing, so little time. Where is Billy Bush's Access Hollywood clip when Californians need to be reminded of it? The state's independence sentiment is evident in a recent poll by the San Diego based and ironically named Independent California Institute, stating more than 60% of Californians agree they would be better off if California peacefully seceded for the U.S. at some point in the next 10 years. The controversial poll found substantial majorities want California to form a commission dedicated to secession, to use its border stations to check incoming autos for drugs, guns, and other contraband, to seek ownership of federally owned land, and use hardball tactics in Congress, such as withholding votes on the federal budget to press for independence. But it will not be easy to turn this ever politically evolving land, Nuevo España in 1535, Nuevo California in 1804, Alta California in 1822, and finally the state of California on September 9th, 1850, into potentially Nueva e Mejorada California, new and improved California anytime soon. The Cal Exit movement is trying to get the 546,651 signatures needed by July 22nd to put the following secession question on the California ballot. Quote, should California leave the United States and become a free and independent country? Unquote. Deme, cuando. If it makes it on the ballot and passes by at least 55%, it would mean Golden State residents have issued a vote of no confidence in the United States, a formal statement that they want California to become an independent country, per the Cal Exit campaign. Californians may be yearning for a back to the future moment when the California Republic, or the Bear Flag Republic, briefly formed an unrecognized breakaway state from Mexico in 1846. It didn't last long, though. A band of 33 idealistic American immigrants who ironically entered the Mexican territory of Alta California sans documents rebelled against the barely existing presence of the Mexican government and declared the establishment of a separate country, the California Republic. For 25 glorious days, these gringo rebels militarily controlled most of Sonoma County until the California Battalion of the U.S. military took charge on July 5, 1846. The federal troops took down the rebels' Bear Flag and ran up the U.S. flag in its place. Today's resentment mirrors that time. Only now the federales represent President Trump's Republican-controlled U.S. Congress, while local state rebels represent the totally Democrat-dominated California legislature. Somehow, it reminds me of the Alamo, only this time California hopefuls believe the ending will be different. There have been multiple attempts to break up or break away the state of California, and an impressive 220 efforts and counting. One movement predates California's statehood by just a month when in August 1850 there was a proposal that the state to be split into two states, a northern half named California and a southern half named Colorado, 26 years before the state of Colorado came into existence. In 1941, a rebellion begun among the counties along each side of the California and Oregon border declared their independence from both states to form the state of Jefferson. Eureka, California was to be the Jefferson state capital. The momentum for this drive to statehood came to a dead stop, however, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. Oh, and there was Tim Draper, a Silicon Valley billionaire venture capitalist who singularly wrote and personally funded a measure, Proposition 9, that would break up the state into 3 states. The initiative met the qualifications to be on the 2018 November ballot, but was stopped by a ruling of the California State Supreme Court. Some even want the entire West Coast, California, Oregon, and Washington, to leave the U.S. for Canada, as a new province of our northern neighbor. So far, secession has been a bad bet. California is the fifth, well, now the fourth largest economy in the world and grew 6.1% in 2023 year over year. We have a massive agricultural industry that feeds most of the U.S., along with our own 40 million resident consumers, distributing it all through our huge seaports for Pacific Rim trade, several international airports for world trade, and our legacy highway system for land trade with the rest of the country and Mexico. The capitals of technology in Silicon Valley and entertainment in Hollywood give us innovation and cultural gravitas that is the envy of the world. Tourism abounds here with the original Disneyland and other theme parks. And we have world-class events such as the Rose Parade in Pasadena. Also, California has the infrastructure for land, sea, and air military bases if necessary for our defense. However, all these powerful resources that could be the foundation to launch a nation are also powerful reasons for the United States to never give us our independence. So why is it different this time around? Well, it is the first time, maybe the second time if you count Trump's first term, that California has been singled out and directly targeted by an executive branch hell-bent on harming our state. Some of the flurry of 87 executive orders issued by Trump in less than 2 months in the White House pose specific challenges to California. Trump has stated, quote, "I'd rather see the states take care of their own problems," unquote. Even research projects at Pasadena's Caltech are threatened with being defunded due to cuts at the National Science Foundation and the National Institutes of Health. Consequently, Caltech is avoiding new commitments that create financial risk for the Institute. As it pertains to the LA wildfires, Trump has said, quote, "I don't think we should give California anything until they let the water run down," unquote. Subsequently, he ordered the floodgates of 2 Northern California reservoirs to be opened, threatening the survival of endangered fish, and even as vital, threatening the survival of Central California farms that rely on that water. A natural disaster and an economic disaster, all due to Trump's misconception that the LA wildfires were caused by a lack of water in Southern California, a notion debunked shortly after the fires began, yet still believed by many. Another executive order undoes our state's aggressive emission standards, slowing our transition to electric vehicles. Well, hello, Tesla. I guess in President Donald J. Trump, Elon Musk found a frenemy. Other executive orders revoke birthright American citizenship, increase ICE raids, and ban sanctuary, which potentially impacts 1 in 4 California residents born outside of the United States. However, California was already prepared for this onslaught of hate with a special session of the California legislature convened by Governor Gavin Newsom to, quote, "safeguard California values," unquote, and approve funding for the state's Department of Justice and other agencies to, quote, "immediately file affirmative action litigation," unquote. In other words, California set aside $50 million to fight Trump's policies in court, policies that the governor and a majority of the state legislature consider to be harmful to Californians. It is unprecedented for the state to preemptively dedicate funding to fight what it is perceived to be an openly hostile executive branch of the U.S. government. But here we now are. However, successfully petitioning for secession is problematic. Texas versus White, a Supreme Court decision after the Civil War, held that states have no right to unilaterally secede, but theorized that a state might secede through, quote, "revolution or consent of the states," unquote. Secession appears to be less of a long shot due to Trump's overt provocations against the interests of Californians. It makes one wonder when a 21st century Zorro will make an appearance to save Californians from an oppressive government.